Hello and welcome. The title of the message today is Salt and the Quantum Field. But let's begin by affirming together our opening statement. There is only one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God. I invite you now just to take a deep breath with me. Allowing your awareness to move to this present time, in this present space, right where your feet are, right now. And so it is. So salt and the quantum field. I'd like to begin by reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. This is a section that is often known as the Sermon on the Mount. It's a place in the Gospel according to Matthew where we get what might be thought of as a sermon that Jesus gave. It's a collection that really boils down his teaching. And it's perhaps my favorite part of the entire Bible. So this quote comes from the Gospel according to Matthew and chapter 5. Now I'd like to start reading for you at verse 13. And I'll be reading from the Dr. Lhamsa translation from the Aramaic scrolls. And so we read, Jesus is talking here. You are indeed the salt of the earth. But if the salt should lose its savor, with what could it be salted? It would not be worth anything but be thrown outside and to be trodden down by people. You are indeed the light of the world. A city that is built upon a mountain cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand so that it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So as we look at this passage, we can think about this idea of salt. Salt has certain properties. We like its taste in food. And indeed, just a pinch of salt added to a bowl of soup will increase the saltiness of the entire bowl of soup. Just like the light that's shining in the world. You see, that's how we are the light shining in the world. If you are indeed the light of the world, a city that is built on a mountain cannot be hidden. That salt, it interpenetrates the entire soup, so that each spoonful has this saltiness to it. I'm saying in this message today that Jesus here is anticipating the implications of quantum mechanics on our conscious life, indeed on the entire structure of the universe. And it's interesting that he brought in this idea of light as he talked about this saltiness. Because the new physics, which is to say the physics that comes after Newtonian physics, quantum physics is this new physics. the implications of the quantum field and all of the behaviors that can be observed in the quantum field. I'd like to share with you a joke that helps demonstrate some of those behaviors, you see. Quantum entanglement really isn't so complicated. You know that socks come in pairs. And as soon as I take one of those socks and put it on my left foot, you know that the other sock will then be the right sock no matter where it is in the universe. And that is a really good idea of quantum entanglement. It implies this pairing that is true no matter the location of the socks. Of course, quantum entanglement is talking about elementary particles such as electrons and their spin, and how if you change the spin, then reverse it from clockwise to counterclockwise in one of the pairs of electrons, that the other electron, no matter where it is in the universe, will automatically reverse its spin. But what's strange here in relation to Newtonian physics is that this domino effect, where the first domino falls, touches the other domino, and then it falls and touches the other domino on down the chain, is not quite happening just like that, because here one of the dominoes may not even be in the same room or the same solar system, and yet it is affected instantly. This spooky action at a distance, as Einstein called it. This non-local universe is really our reality. Newtonian physics ends up being a model that helps us to explain the things that we observe on a very large scale. But when it comes down to that which is happening behind what we observe, what stands underneath what we observe, it no longer serves as a model. Quantum mechanics is taking over. Because as circuits get really small, quantum mechanics has more and more of an effect on how they operate. And that's not all. New Thought teaches that our thoughts affect what happens in the outer world. And that's completely compatible with these ideas of quantum mechanics. Things like the two-slit experiment are empirical evidence that the observer affects what is observed. You see, in our old thought, we can see ourselves coming into this universe, when in New Thought we see ourselves coming out of the universe as part of the growth of the universe itself. We are not coming into something from some place where we are not. We are a growth out of this quantum field. We are a growth out of the substance, as Charles Fillmore would call it. That which stands beneath the world that we perceive with our eyes, with our senses, with our scientific instruments. And there is no denying the effect that us as an observer, each one of us as the observer, affects what it is that we are observing. We like to think of it as our thoughts, but really, it is our being, our state of consciousness, that has even more of an effect than our thoughts, because it's our state of consciousness from which we hold these thoughts. It's our state of consciousness that we are seeking to make the change in when we use our principles, such as that principle of thought creates our experience. We use tools such as denials and affirmations in our life to adjust, to dial in, to make a change to the patterns of neurons in our mind, in our brain, in our solar plexus, in our hearts, so that we are able to think in different ways. And in this doing, we are affecting our being. We are shifting ourselves from a vibration at one level into a vibration at another level. This is the journey from head to heart. This is how we put into alignment our Napsha self, which sees itself as individual and separate, into alignment, into passive nature in relation to our Ruah self, which knows its connection to everyone and everything. We are coming out of this quantum field. We are an outgrowth of the ongoing process of creation that was expressed in the Gospel according to John in chapter 1 and verse 1. In the beginning was the Word. In Greek, the Logos. In Aramaic, Milta. This ongoing vibrational process of creation. It happens always, inside and outside of time. We may choose to make the shift in our life, where instead of reacting to that which is happening on us, whether it's from the outside of our body, which we perceive that way, or whether it is from the outside of our heart and actually happening inside of us. But it's not coming from our center, for our center is Ruah, and our Napsha is what responds to this stimulation, these stimuli. Acting like a billiard ball. When it is shot at a certain angle, it deflects and moves at the corresponding angle. That's Newtonian physics. But we know now, even in science, that this is only a model of how things happen in some instances. But when we're talking about the really fine vibration, the really small things in this world, like spirit, like thought itself, like our consciousness, that is not how the universe works. We are so intimately involved in it that our observation of it changes. Until there is an observer, there is a cloud of possible consequences. And any one is equally as likely of propagating into manifestation as all of the others. And our observation of it makes it happen. Our expectation of it colors the glass by which we see it. So, let's work on changing that color of glass. What we give our attention to is what we love. What we love is what we are attracting into our life. If we are in a state of being that is constricted, tense, stressed, nervous, anxious, angry, that is what we attract into our life. The technique of denial and affirmation serves to make a move, a shift out of that consciousness, out of that state of being, and into a new state of being. The denial says, that is not who I am. It does not deny the outer circumstance. It denies the truth. I am not that pattern of thought that I have been attached to for so long. I am not my reactions to my conditioned reactions, my habitual reactions to what goes on in and around of me. No, not this. That is the denial. And the affirmation follows immediately behind it, replacing that pattern of thought with a new pattern of thought, and so changes our being. I am. What a simple affirmation. I am. I simply am. If that's too short for you, I am that. I am. Everything that I encounter is me. Love your neighbor as yourself. Knowing this unity, knowing this oneness. You see, that shifts our entire being from a feeling of separateness where we're in Napsha self into a state of harmony where Ruah, our connection to Spirit, the holy breath itself, harmonizes our entire being with the entire universe, with the quantum field, if you like, with substance, that which stands behind everything. Because there is no separation. The separation is a perception, a way that Napsha has of seeing the phenomena that we call reality. Whereas Ruah, our self with a capital S, knows the truth. So I invite you, as the salt in the soup, as the light shining from the mountain, be that light. Be that salt with full saltiness in this world. Make your contribution simply by making that shift from allowing Napsha self, our self with a lowercase s, our personality, shifting the state where it is in charge of our being to a state where our Ruah self, with a capital S, our essence, the divinity within us, is harmonizing our entire being with itself and with being itself, this entire quantum field. We are the salt that makes the entire soup salty. We are that light shining from the mountain. When we are in the harmonized state, where Napsha knows its place and Ruah, open and expansive, is the dominant force in our being. The salt only loses its saltiness temporarily when Napsha self is dominant. And then what are we adding to the soup? So I invite you, be aware of when you are the salt, and at times when that salt has lost its savior, its savor. Yes. Make the shift. Denials that this is your state and affirmation of what the truth is are a great way to shift this consciousness of increasing the vibration of your being of allowing Ruah to be the dominant energy in your life. I thank you for listening, and I invite you to try this out for yourself. I don't want you to take my word for it, but give it a try out, because in the words of the Reverend Johnny Coleman, it works if you work it. Thank you.